Professor Phillips is good. Professor Phillips is good. I'm not a doctor yet. All right, I'm sharing my screen just so you can know a little bit more about me. Put this up here. There we go. All right, I am Yvonne Phillips. I've been working in this data science space, statistical analysis space for a little over 20 years, doing data mining, visualization, machine learning methods across several different industries. I have my background is mathematics from Spelman College. I also then have a master's of science in decision science. That was the early term of data science a while back. All right. I have a couple of certifications. But as I was saying, my experience in data science started in financial services. So I was doing credit risk models. If you have a credit card, you know change of terms. I would work with the credit risk department. We would look at defaults and how people were paying their loans, right? And doing like loan loss reserve. So that was over in the financial space. Then I moved over to insurance and spent some time doing risk models in insurance. So if you all have um, licenses, cars, again, any type of insurance like that, we would work with different types of carriers to price their book and assess you in groups of your risk to your insurance company. My passion, I have a huge love for fashion. So my mother gave me my love for fashion. And my father made me the avid sports fan that I am today. I'm a huge NFL girl. And college basketball. And college basketball. So I follow them both. Today's agenda. All right, please make sure that we are on mute. Please make sure that we are on mute.
A good part too.
Good morning, Ms. Gary.
Okay.
Ms. Brantley, can you mute your?
Okay. I can only say for about a minute, you have to go to a bathroom.
Okay.
Ms. Brantley.
Wow.
Christina.
I got her.
Campbell, you should be able to mute them.
I did.
I know, I was.
Okay.
Where was that?
All right. No worries. All right. Today's conversation, because I absolutely want this to be a conversation amongst the group, but we'll talk about understanding artificial intelligence and data science, the role of social science, and then the intersection of AI, data science, and social science. I'll go through a few case studies, examples, and then we'll talk about some future directions. In the chat, I've shared with you a link to a Jamboard. If you would, click on that link. All right, you can give me a thumbs up when you've received that link, when actually I can start to see you all come into the Jamboard. Excellent, excellent. All right, so this is what we're going to do if you have not used Jamboard before. I have a question out here and it says, what drew you to studying social science and what are your career aspirations in the field? This will help me think through examples that, I can bring into today's conversation and how we compare data science with your aspirations. So if you come over here to the left, the fourth icon down, I'm hovering over the fourth icon. It says sticky note. When you click on that sticky note, you are able then to type into the note, press save. It will then appear on the board and you can move that sticky note around the board. Again, yes, excellent. So again, what you would want to do is come over to the left, hover over sticky note. You're going to type on that sticky note, press save, and then it will show on the board. Excellent. I see them coming in. All right, so we still have this little pink one that's moving around. Yes, I see it disappear now. And again, it could just be a quick, some quick notes. It doesn't have to be a nice dissertation, but just some quick notes again on what drew you to studying social science and what are your career aspirations. So again, I should start to see these sticky notes coming on the board. Excellent. So let's read a few of these. Ineffective high school counselors. Excellent. All right. The love for helping others in the community. Adolescents and families in need, to be a founder of a nonprofit organization. Beautiful. Your passion for service and helping others, and you would like to practice as a licensed clinician. For helping people, medical social work. It's beautiful. Interested in how society functions and keeping people in certain SESs. Okay, so medical social work and the study of human behavior. History in the child welfare system. Thank you for sharing. Mental health, psychiatric disorders, owning your own practice. I see the future. I see the future and it's looking bright. To be a therapist, as well as a counselor education and sex therapist. Excellent. Being intrigued by the human mind and being curious of how you can have a career out of that. So, a licensed professional counselor, helping others and life experiences. Yes. The lack of knowledge on feelings in television. Oh, I like that one. All right, these are excellent. Thank you so much. Here's a second Jamboard. The next one is exploring perceptions of data science. So, a few things that I want you to think through. Can you think of any examples of data that you encounter in your everyday life or in your academic research? When you click on that sticky note, you can click on the orange note. And so if you answering that question, please place that in orange. So I'm going to try to color code this. All right, that's the first question. Can you think of any examples of data that you encounter in your everyday life or academic research? The second question, I want you to use a pink sticky note, if you would. When you hear the term data science, what thoughts or images come to mind? When you hear the term data science, what thoughts or images come to mind? And the third question, how do you think data science might be relevant to your field of study or career in social science? So after we have a few sticky notes on the board, I would like a few people to come on the mic and share your contribution to the board. We'll take a moment or so, again, to gather the sticky notes. Can you think of examples of data that you encounter in your everyday life or academic research? The second question is, when you hear the term data science, what thoughts or images come to mind? When you hear the term data science, what thoughts or images come to mind?
Do you want it to just get off the mic and say it?
Let's have a few more seconds for people to contribute to the board. All right, so do you have the link to the Jamboard?
Yes, I'm getting on it now only because I'm on my phone, but I'm logging into my computer.
Oh, no, no problem. We'll be here. All right, so there's a few examples of data in your everyday life have been placed on there. What I would like the next one to be answered again is, when you hear the term data science, what thoughts or images come to mind? So if we could start answering either the second or the third question. That's me kind of moving things around. Yes, okay, I like it. Excellent, excellent. All right, so let's take someone that has contributed to the board. If you would, you could come on the mic, introduce yourself, and then share with us how you have contributed to the board. If you've answered all three questions, if you've answered two of the three, if you've answered one of the three questions, again, share with us what contributions you've made to the board. Feel free to come on in, or you can give me a raise your hand and I'll bring you in.
I can go. So something that I added to
Good
the
morning.
board.
Let us know your name.
Oh, I'm sorry. Good morning. My name is Chanel Smith. I'm in the social work program.
Good morning.
Um, Good morning. One thing that I contributed was, when we think of data science, what do we think about? And I know I just automatically think of like pie charts and graphs And then just like from previously taking statistics in the program, like descriptive statistics and just how we can quantify interventions and provide quantifiable updates about what we do and how we're serving the population we work with.
Excellent answer. Thank you for that, or those examples. Yes, descriptive statistics, a branch of statistics that we use, of course, to summarize what has happened. Excellent. Is it Andrea or Andrea? Either way, please come on in.
Andrea.
Andrea, good morning.
Hello, everyone. My camera isn't working right now, so I can't be on screen. I am too from the social work program, and the things that I added to the jam board were basically, excuse me, examples of how I encounter it would be through insights and analytics on social media, basically just trying to see how things work, see what works. And basically, that's really how it would be used in my field of study, seeing what works, what would be most effective, what will help people learn the most. And what comes to mind for me, I'm always trying to figure out what type of formulas and equations that I can cultivate that can make things rinse and repeatable, or make me a blueprint or a framework to move forward with.
Excellent. Yeah, there are so many examples, of how we can use data science to help investigate these societal issues, particularly on social media. If we think about biases, perceptions that are portrayed on social media, if we think about issues like voting, and how that has been used in previous years, particularly the 2016 election, and how they use social media to disenfranchise the Black community. So there's a lot of issues using social media and data science, right, to help investigate societal issues. Thank you so much for that. Is there another? Is there another? I have a lot of sticky notes on here. Is there another that would like to volunteer? All right, so let's see. Oh, thank you. Rose, please come in.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm still getting over a little cold, but my name is Rose and I'm from the social work program in advanced standing. And the question that I contributed to was the one about the data science and like how does it come up? What do you think about when you hear the name? So I put evaluated interventions provided, kind of like what Chanel said. And a lot of our classes we were learning about how to evaluate your interventions, whether that be through descriptive frequencies and analysis and charts and data and stuff like that. So I'm just thinking about that. And then also like whenever we do provide interventions to our clients, we always, the last step of the process is evaluation. So seeing how well did that intervention go? Did it work, and what went well and what didn't go well? So I'm just thinking of things like that. And then I think the second question I answered, but I forgot what the question was, but I know I put like just evaluating something. Like to me, everything comes back to evaluation.
Okay, evaluation. So I think that's what was that how data science might be relevant to your field of study?
No, I think it was the second question I answered, the one, the pink.
Okay, so when you hear the term data science, what are
Yeah.
your thoughts or images?
Mhm.
So evaluation. And what does evaluation look like? Like, what is the output of evaluation?
I guess for me, it's like trying to see if what you did was effective. So it's kind of like, at the end of the evaluation, did we see a change occur in our clients? Did we not? Whether it's even if we're thinking of something within society, when we put rules into place and then we're trying to evaluate if those rules are effective, did it decrease crime? Did it increase crimes? Things like that.
So it may look like a survey going into your evaluation, and then possibly an assessment, right? Thinking about maybe quantitative data And then also qualitative data, maybe you use some type of Likert scale or, something of that nature, right? To make your assessments. Is that correct?
Yes.
Excellent, right? So again, those are examples of data then that you are encountering in your field of interest. Thank you so much, Rose. All right, there are some others on the board. Please come on in and share with us how you contributed to the board.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nelson Quinones, and I'm a clinical mental health counselor graduating in May.
Good
So
morning.
I contributed to the board first regarding, can you think of any examples of data that you encounter in your everyday life? And I believe Rose literally just said surveys. So in my current internship and my role as case manager, I'm responsible for gathering the surveys of our clients, of their parents, even of other individuals who may have been a part of a session and then have been given a link to a survey for everything from page Q9 to the GAD surveys to YLQs and even to some proprietary surveys that have been created by Embark, which is where I presently work. And then when I think of the term data science, the thoughts and images that come to my mind as I contributed are people. I think of how that research that's been conducted by everyone from Freud on down to a peer-reviewed article that was released from a graduating student last week, and how that data and that information then drives us as counselors and social workers to use a particular model or to use a particular treatment modality. And so then the last question, how do I think data science might be relevant to my field of study and future career in social science, is that without it, we don't know the evaluations to conduct. Without it, we won't understand the power of interventions in certain communities. Without it, we won't be able to identify cultural biases and different systemic issues that are built in almost with rationale. Data science allows us to then speak to that bias that's built in and say, you're not a good fit, you're not appropriate either culturally or ethnically or ethically. It allows us to identify areas of opportunity, because I don't want to call it like malicious intent or negative things happening in the field. It allows us to identify areas of opportunity and successes that are occurring with the research that exists and then with the research that we contribute as well due to data.
Absolutely. I love that, Nelson. One of the overarching questions that I have in several of my classes when we talk about data science in society is how artificial intelligence, can be helpful, but also maybe hinder our communities. And that's what I'm just hearing you say, right? Definitely when we get into, what is the data science and I really want us to hone into the process, because data science is a process, right? And it's working through a methodology. And I'll talk more about that, and how we can bring the scientific method and then the data science process together and what that looks like. All right. Thank you so much for that. All right. Michelle or Michelle?
Yeah, kind of what Nelson just talked about, because I believe that there's a broader happening that's going on that the data science can pick up on, because I do believe that what I was talking about with the SES, socioeconomic status, I do believe that there's a broader thing that's going on where we're actually steering people from kindergarten to only make it to a certain socioeconomic status in society. And along, if we could, they've used data science to pick up how and where and at what stage are we steering people that eventually have them end up in only, in specific places in society, if it makes sense, if what I'm saying makes sense. I just think there's a lot of steering going on that keeps us in a certain socioeconomic status, a certain place in society, where you're only allowed to go certain places and make certain monies and be involved in certain things.
I hear you. I hear you. So yes, I absolutely understand what you're saying, and that then we can use data science to look at insight, we can look at trend, maybe we can look at even pattern and the different methods that come with that, to answer those questions. So we'll dive into a little more of that later on today. Thank you. All right. Are there one or two others one or two others that would like to share your contribution to the board. All right, so a few other things rather, that have been listed. R. Somebody said R. I'm not sure if R was for research or if R was for the programming language. I'd love to hear what you have there. I do teach R. I've been using R now for about 6 years. And so if you have interest, let me know. But Dr. Jones, Dr. King, and others at CAU have really made great leaps for that coding program to be a part of social work or social sciences. All right, is there another? Is it Maya or Maya? Good morning.
It's Maya.
Maya, good morning, Maya.
So I also answered the first question as far as examples of data that you encounter in your everyday life or academic research. It's kind of also piggybacking off of what Nelson said, because at my internship site, I'm not in charge of it, but we do give our clients or just anyone that's coming in the GAD and the PHQ surveys to complete, especially if they're coming in as far as for therapy or just medication management in general. They're giving those tests to examine their anxiety and depression. But I also mentioned just, surveys that we do, questionnaires, and also with CAU, we have like professor evaluations that we have to complete. So that was kind of, examples that I thought of as far as in regards to data science.
All right, thank you. I like that. I like that. A few other answers on the board about when you hear the term data science: formulas and equations, data collection, research, statistics, numbers, Excel, documents, SPSS, statistics, focus groups, Qualtronics. All right, beautiful. All right, so I'm sharing my screen back over to our slide deck. And the first thing I want to talk about, are applications, or the importance rather of the intersection of AI, data science, and social science in today's world. So there's many examples that we can see. Maybe automating case prioritization, maybe matching clients to optimal services. How about predicting high-risk cases, automating administrative tasks? So there was an event, it was held by Mathematica, and this was a few years ago. And they actually have an online presence at the same time. I will share the website with you. But during this time, Mathematica dived into this intersection of data science and social science. And you can see some of the project work. And I just want to, first bring out some applications of where we see this intersection. So building our history of sharing research. There was someone that did, they can better drive policy management, the data types, right? Greater flow, learning to adapt, using broader opportunities to address other needs. A lesson in reshaping for a purpose. So charting and measuring poverty in Rwanda. Also examples from cities. So the WIC program that was done in Charlotte, North Carolina. Cancer research and the impacts of artificial intelligence. Using mobility data to guide development decisions. Now, during this conference, they also talked about new tools. So doing randomized experiments in normal processes, raising ethical questions, so A/B test, predictive tools in cities, so using predictive models, surveillance of customer products, facial recognition, cameras, sorting comments to modify public policy. I want you to think about natural language processing, large language models, LLM. You may have seen that most recently. So in partnership with like the federal, the state, the local community organizations, Mathematica, they impose services that are related to like early childhood, K through 12 education, employment, criminal justice, support for families. They've also worked with African-based subsidiary, or one of their African-based subsidiaries, where they'll work on climate change mitigation, nutrition, transportation. So really looking at social services in more than like 50 countries across Africa and Asia and Latin America. And so trying to use their data-driven insights more to advance like major healthcare programs, Medicare, Medicaid, substance abuse services. So all examples of the intersection of data science and social science. But all of this starts at data. And I want us to think about the types of data that we generate, the types of data that can be stored every single day. Whether it's from wearable technology, like our smart devices, our Apple Watches. In sports, they use different sports vests to look at their biomechanical or biomedical stats. So using that for healthcare, using that for nutrition, using that for personal or personalization of their medical services. We've talked about surveys and how that brings qualitative data. You may have notes in your survey. So how can you assess your notes? How can you look at the sentiment of your notes? Emails, images, videos, social media, all types of unstructured data. A smart refrigerator that's connected to the internet, that connects data on the contents, the way that you use your refrigerator. So maybe sending out alerts for maintenance. Your smart TVs, Netflix, Spotify, Amazon, the way that you shop, the way that you watch television, the music that you listen to, when you listen to it, the genres that you listen to, the artists that you listen to. All of these are pieces of data. We generate data, and then there are platforms that can store the data. You can have something like relational databases, Excel, the cloud. So you can think of like AWS and Azure. These are services that that host cloud platforms. Matter of fact, the cloud, what is the cloud? Somebody come on the mic and tell me, what is the cloud? What does that look like? Is it like up in the sky? Is it blue? Is it Deja? Oh no, they come in. Can someone come on and like, what is the cloud?
I know the cloud, I think of like iCloud storage with Apple products where like it'll save any data that you've backed up. And it doesn't matter like how far back you go, as long as you have enough storage space.
Okay, absolutely. So that's kind of like this middle ground, right? Like you save something from your phone, but where is it being saved? Like what does the cloud look like?
I envision it to be this big mechanical room
Mm-hmm.
that has the capacity or the machinery to store data, large amount of data.
Absolutely. It's just a big warehouse with servers. Like think of like your desktop or like desktop computers and think of them of just great sizes and just many servers in a row. That's what the cloud is. That's what the cloud looks like. It's a server. And each one of us, let's take the example of your iPhone. You have a space, right? So Apple then buys a space on the server. And this is where they store all of their customer data. Anything that you're like your pictures, the music, your text, your emails, all of that will get stored in a little file with your ID on that. And Apple then buys space on the server. So when we talk about the data science, we have to start with data. We have to think about different types of data. Qualitative, quantitative, structured, unstructured, semi-structured. And with each one of these different types of data, there's different ways that we work with that data. So let's talk about what is data science. So data science, it unifies statistics, data analysis, machine learning, and other related methods in order to understand and analyze actual phenomenon with data. So it employs techniques and theories drawn from many fields within the context of mathematics, statistics, information science, computer science. A Venn diagram is often shown to describe the overlapping skills needed for data science. Data analysis, right? It involves the cleaning, the exploring, the transforming raw data into actionable insights. Machine learning, it's a subset of artificial intelligence. We'll talk a little bit more about this, right? That enables these algorithms. And algorithms is just a set of rules. And it learns from data and it improves the performance over time. Statistical research, using descriptive statistics, inferential statistics, hypothesis testing. Data processing. How fast is the data coming to us? How fast is it streaming? Is it real time? Is it near time? Is it manual work? Is it data that's sent in batch? How fast is that song streaming on your device? How fast is that movie streaming on Netflix? How quickly did the information from the player on the court get to the analyst to tell you as the fan? Mathematics, calculus, algebra, linear algebra, discrete. Computer science, programming languages, coding, data structures. It's the overlapping skills. It's the overlapping tasks that we use in order to understand and analyze data. Here's our working definition of data science. I want you to take a moment to read through our working definition of data science. So data science is the science that uses computer science, statistics, machine learning, visualization, human computer interactions to collect, clean, integrate, analyze, visualize, interact with data to create data products. Data intensive science. It was shortened to data science. So it refers then to the conduct of data analysis as an empirical science. It's about learning directly from data itself. And it's based on two empirical methods. The first is the form of collecting data followed by open-ended analysis. How many of you have heard of Sherlock Holmes? How many of you have heard of Sherlock Holmes? Yes. And when Sherlock Holmes is called to the scene, what has happened? What has happened? Nelson, I think you're on mute. Or maybe you're talking, Nelson.
I didn't realize you could see me talking out loud, talking to myself. So from what I could recall and what I remember reading, Sherlock Holmes was brought on the scene in order to investigate things that were there, data that was or attributes that were identified to point to what could be a conclusion regarding something that happened there in that space. If it were a murder, for an example, not to use the worst, but if Sherlock Holmes was brought in, he was looking for different pieces of information to put together in order to come up with the conclusion of what happened and how it happened.
Absolutely. So yes, when I asked this question, because you've given us, you know, you've been inclusive in a lot of answers here, right? So when I asked that question, people say maybe there was a murder or somebody died or somebody was killed, right? And so we know that when Sherlock Holmes comes into the flat in London, right, typically somebody has died. He looks around the scene, right? He goes into the kitchen and he looks to see how many glasses were in the sink. Maybe one of them has a lipstick stain on them. Maybe one of them doesn't. He goes into the trash can and he looks to see maybe some fruit was eaten, what foods were eaten lately. He goes over to the couch and maybe there's some pillows that have been rearranged. Maybe there's a magazine that's open. Maybe there's a little corner that's been flipped on the rug. And maybe there really wasn't a murder. Maybe somebody tripped over the rug and hit their head. He made no assumptions to the scene, right? He investigates what's happening. There's no hypothesis on the data. We call this data discovery, data exploration. Now, the second empirical method is then refers or based on the formulation of a hypothesis, the collection of the data to address the hypothesis, and then the analytical confirmation or denial of that hypothesis. We call that hypothesis testing. So in both of these methods, the conclusions are based on the data. So in many data science projects, the raw data is browsed first, which then informs a hypothesis, which then can be investigated. Right? It's a little different than what you may think through in like the scientific method. I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. But I want you to understand, again, in data science projects, we browse the raw data first. That helps us. So we look at our frequency tables. We look at our summary statistics. We look at our graphs. And we help them, or we use these tools to see if there's some insight. Is there some correlation? Is there some trend that I see over time? But I'm not going to just make a hypothesis before I've browsed the data. Not in a data science project. There's a process. So in its purest form, data science is sometimes called the fourth paradigm of science. It's following experiment, theory, and computational science. And this fourth paradigm term was coined by Jim Gray back in 2007. Are there questions? Questions?
So could this also be like in relation to, and I'm using in relation because I can't think of another term to call it, but just how in clinical mental health and in social work, there are different waves of theories. Like the first wave, and I don't remember exactly, but there's a first wave that was more like cognitive behavioral. And then there's the second wave, and then the third wave, which is more like, I believe, like feminist theory, or fourth wave, or something along those lines. And then the next being, the fourth wave being like existential, something like that. So could it be considered the same as it relates to data science?
So in data science, it's interesting. I did not put that slide into today's presentation, but let's talk through that, right? So in data science, there's different types of analytics, and there is what it's from Gartner. At the time, back in 2001, when it was introduced, they were Meta Group, and then they moved eventually to what is now Gartner. And they talk about the different types of analytics. So they introduce us to this ascendancy model, right? And so it's 4 types of analytics, and with the presence of artificial intelligence, we can now add even a 5th type of analytics. And so the first type of analytics is what we would call descriptive analytics. And many of you all talked about descriptive statistics when I was asking you about data science. It answers this question, what has happened? It gives us a summary of what has happened. If I worked in a manufacturing facility, how many widgets did I manufacture that month, right? If I'm in maybe this clinician space, how many clients, how many families did I see in the week? How many surveys did I collect? It just answers what has happened. And then the next level of analytics that we can layer on to that is what's called diagnostic analytics. Why has it happened? Why was I able to see that many families? Why do I see in my chart that there has been a decrease of nutrition value in certain foods over some time, right? It's just diagnosing this question, why has it happened? The third type of analytics within data science is what we call predictive analytics. Predictive analytics. What can happen, right? What are the possible outcomes? What are the possible outcomes? Let me get a little closer. Netflix, right? If you watched Netflix last night and you watched a movie, and we know what time you got on Netflix, or Netflix knows rather, what time you got on Netflix, what genres you watched on Netflix, what movies rather you watched on Netflix, what genres those movies fell into, what actors and actresses were in that movie. Last week, you were on Netflix, and Netflix knows what time you got on Netflix and what movies or TV shows that you watched and what genres and what actors and what actresses. And you did that last month and last year and maybe the year before that. So what we can do is that we can use then things like data mining, econometrics. We can use these tools to then predict what you might do next. So let's say I have 5 new movies coming out next week. And so I can create then this model to help me predict which one of those movies you may watch based on your historical data. So I'm taking what has happened in the past and I'm evaluating it today to predict what's going to happen next Friday. And each one of those movies has a probability to it. Maybe movie 1 is a probability that you're watching 20% of the time, or 20%, excuse me, just on a one-time hit. Maybe movie 3, oh, this is definitely up, Maya's alley. This is a movie that she's gonna watch. This is the genre that she watches. So I'm going to put a 50% probability that she watches this movie. So again, it's using the methods, the techniques to do prediction. That's the third type of analytic. The fourth type of analytics is called prescriptive analytics. I want you to think recommendation analysis, or recommendation decision support systems. There we go. Optimization. I'm going to recommend a movie to you because my predictive model gave me 5 movies and it placed a probability on each one of those movies that you may watch. So now, when you open your Netflix next Friday, what has happened? You may like this movie. It's going to show you then the movie, or it's going to recommend a movie that had the highest probability based on how you have watched Netflix in the past. That's why people always talk about their algorithm. If you share maybe a Netflix account with somebody and maybe they have different preferences than you do, right? And you'd be like, oh, my algorithm is totally messed up. I got to reset my algorithm. That's what they mean. So we're using, again, optimization techniques, maybe collaborative filtering, decision support systems. These are the types of tools that we use in prescriptive analytics. And now, with the presence of artificial intelligence, we can add on, and this is not a part of the initial 4 types of analytics that Gardner introduced us to, but we can now add on a 5th type of analytic called cognitive analytics. Can we make machines think like humans? Can we make machines think like humans? So when we look at data science, right, and we talk about data analysis, we can start to think through the types of analytics in data science. And those are the main types of analytics. That's what you will see like commonplace. Right. Nelson, thank you for that question. So applications here in data science, just, how does that look in our world? In healthcare, we can identify and predict disease and personalize healthcare recommendations. In transportation, we can optimize shipping routes in real time. In government, we can prevent tax evasion and predict incarceration rates. In gaming, we can improve online gaming experiences. We can think through avatars. Why are you choosing the avatar that you're choosing? We can add psychometrics. In social media, we can create algorithms to pinpoint compatible partners. We can look at different platforms. We can see how people are interacting on different platforms. We can look at the sentiment of their post. We can see what they're liking, what they're sharing, whom they're following. We can do graph analysis. We can do social network analysis, all from social media. In fintech, I pointed this out early on in my career, was using credit reports and financial profiles to do underwriting and create these predictive models then based on maybe payroll data, maybe your insurance claims. Just some common data science applications and examples. So what do data scientists do? All right, use various statistical tools to develop models. Maybe use analytic objectives and approaches. They're planned and they're defined by your data scientists who collaborate with internal consulting teams, your business partners, maybe other IT professionals, maybe those that specialize in visualizations. So your stakeholders, maybe community organizations, government, enterprise. We also formulate work plans to provide support. So programming as well as analytical to internal consulting. You also need to possess these non-technical skills, those communication skills, your presentation skills. These are essential for telling your data story. How are you communicating? Make sure when you're doing your data visualizations, you are communicating. There's either an ask or you are informing. Your data story is the way, the bridge between your analytics and those that can help make a difference. And having that domain expertise. So each one of you all come with this domain expertise of social science. And then there's specific requirements of the various jobs. So being able to merge these two is ideal. Are there any questions? Any questions, any reflections, any comments? I'd love to hear from you.
I'm trying not to be the kiss up of the group, but yes, I have an observation, and I'm actually gonna connect it to Dr. Jones. And I feel like Dr. Jones has been such an advocate for us really exploring data science. And I wish that I had managed my time better with taking some of the opportunities that she's provided to us, because everything that you're saying makes so much sense to me with my long-term goal of becoming a counselor educator. It will be great for me to be able to talk about the models and like you said, the domain expertise as social scientists, but now the numbers start to matter. Now that I'm actually looking at clients, working with other therapists, looking at surveys, actually looking at the dollar match, the survey outcome coming back. Like it's really making sense, Ms. Phillips or Professor Phillips. So I'll say to everyone, especially like the next cohort, if we're able, or if that happens, or whomever, data science is really more pivotal than we realize, especially in mental health and social work. So that's my observation. I get it now.
Well, Dr. Jones is absolutely fabulous. Yes, we've been working together for the last several years. And just to see her grow in this space and use data science and social science together has honestly, and then being able to bring it to the students. Absolutely. Absolutely. Michelle, please come on in.
My undergrad degree is actually in social science. And I'm always asking why. So this kind of speaks to me in a way that's like feels natural to me. And even when I graduate, I'm going to work with one of our professors and doing some research. So this is so good. This good. Glad you're here.
And there's so much more that we have to talk about. So we're not done. We're not done.
If I could just add one piece, y'all make me smile. But I wanted Professor Phillips, I want you to share with them where like I just want to make sure we're not feeling like it's too late. Like when Mr. Quinones is late for the
And I
next.
was about to say
Okay.
that.
Okay.
Yes, no, come on in though. Come on in, Dr. Jones.
No, that's it. Like I really just want you to show them where like this is a great place to start because they are about to graduate and I definitely get where everybody's juggling a lot of different things. But like my whole point in wanting you or overall for you as well as Dr. King is like, you know, we're sitting in March and come May as they begin to really tighten up their resumes, what are some like buzz things that they can put on their resumes or their CVs or engage in the conversations that could probably catapult or at least get the juices flowing around. Like, you know, these are some things I'm interested in because they don't have to be scholars within our today, right? You know, they can,
Absolutely.
you know, I'm ready to get going, I'm ready to learn, and where can I take it from there? But
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm gonna bring Chanel in, and then I'll answer some questions there.
perfect. Thank you.
Mhm.
I just wanted to add on to what Nelson said about realizing the why behind why we need the numbers and the data. I'm learning that at like my practicum, and getting more experience in the field that a lot of the times we need data for funding and to justify why we're providing a certain intervention or a certain service. And without that data, we don't have that justification. So I think that's one more thing that's coming more apparent to me is yes, we need to provide the service to help people and help them reach their goals and whatever accomplishments they're trying to strive towards, but we also need it for funding and to be able to just have the tools we need to provide the service as well.
Absolutely, right. And so there's like different sides to this because what I hear you all talk about is, making sure that you have the data, you have the analysis to then go and help change public policy, right? And do public management. But I want you to even think about how data science is going to help you in your everyday to day. Natural language processing will help you move through thousands of documents using keywords, right, to really hone in on the issues that are affecting us. Going through 10 years of information in 10 minutes and not take you 3 years is powerful. Right? And that's just knowing that natural language processing and learning data science, just because you may not have done it in undergrad, and just because you may not have done it in your first year, and just because maybe if this is your second year, you're starting to learn, you are where you need to be. You understand the what, you understand the why, and now we have to get you to the how. Okay? I love the smiles. I love the enthusiasm. Because there's so much, and I meant there's so much, y'all, that I still want to talk about. Like, there's so much that can happen by giving the intersection. You all know the societal issues. Now, understanding, hey, I need to be able to dig into the data, and data is not equal. There's a lot of what we call structured data. This is data that we can put into a spreadsheet. So you can think about, hey, I have a survey, and yes, I can place my survey into a spreadsheet, but what about the added notes? How you cannot have 100 surveys and then think that you're going to go through all the individual notes manually within a reasonable time. But the tools in data science can get you there. It can understand the sentiment of the clinician that made the note. It can understand the sentiment of the client who made the note. right? Like I understand, I hope you understand what I'm saying here. Oh my goodness, I forgot to power my computer. Total, like, y'all give me 30 seconds, okay? Give me 30 seconds. Let's take a quick 30-second break. My apologies. All of a sudden the battery came on. I'll be right back. All right.
And we just take maybe like a 4-minute break, everybody. Let's take a 4-minute break, everybody.
All right, let's take a quick 4-minute break. All right, thank you all so much.
4 minutes,
Because
everybody.
that's an example of like the computer will never outrun us, right? Because you got to plug it in.
Computer still needs a master or a Mrs. or a
There
Miss.
you go. I love it. That's right.
It does. And see, I'm already back, but we're on break.
That's right.
Yes, I don't want to, take out the enthusiasm. But all of a sudden it came and I kept wondering, why is the computer getting dull? And I thought I charged it last night, but what I think it is that there was a different switch that needed to be flipped on. So
Well, I don't know what you think about this, but Miss Campbell and I have been struggling with some of these laptops. It doesn't seem like they hold a charge like they used to. Do you feel like that, or?
I know mine was user error because where I plugged it in at, you have to flip a switch to turn the switch on. And once I realized that it was about to go out, I knew what the problem was because I was like, I charged it all night. So I knew what my problem was as soon as that happened.
Well, we can
Okay, we've been talking for about an hour, so a quick little 3-minute break to stretch. No worries. This is a great enthusiastic group here. So I know we'll get right back into it.
Yeah.
Goodness, I look and so I'm like, oh my gosh, I have like 45 more minutes.
It'd be like that, right?
I know, particularly something that you are so interested in doing. But this is wonderful. And I always love the aha moments. I always love the light bulb moments to say, oh, wait a minute, I see.
Yeah.
We'll talk a little bit more about that.
Good stuff.
I should have probably put on a little clock to let people know that we are back, but we'll take maybe another minute and we'll continue to look for those that come back on screen. All right, so hopefully everyone can hear my voice and we can get back on our computers and start our session for the next hour, including hearing Dr. King talk about her upcoming or her current work. If you are back, give me a thumbs up. If you're back, give me a thumbs up. Yes, I see you. I see you. All right, I just need a few more. Yes, I see you. Thumbs up, hearts, all of them. Perfect. Excellent, excellent. All right, let's get back started. Again, thank you so much for your patience there. A little unexpected. So what I was saying though was that it's definitely not too late to start your study of data science because now you absolutely have, you know, your interest. And so now it's just about getting on the path to study the tools, to study the techniques that will help you answer the types of questions that you have around societal issues. Artificial intelligence.
Professor Phillips, I think you're muted accidentally.
No, I'm not muted. I'm not saying anything. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm not muted. Okay, so artificial intelligence, right? I wanted to find out how to find artificial intelligence. So Google, right? I Googled, and here's some of the results to what is artificial intelligence. AI is the theory and development of a computer system able to perform tasks normally requiring human intelligence, such as visual perception, speech recognition, decision making, and translation between languages. AI, sometimes called machine intelligence, is intelligence demonstrated by machines, okay, in contrast to the natural intelligence displayed by humans and other animals. AI makes it possible for machines to learn from experience, adjust to new inputs, and perform human-like tasks. AI is an area of computer science that emphasizes the creation of intelligent machines that work and react like humans. AI aims to create intelligent machines. It's become an essential part of technology, and it's a way of making a computer controlled robot or a software think intelligently. So AI is being used in two ways. The first way is to assist people in automated processes, or automate processes rather, to help our day-to-day tasks, maybe personally or professionally, right? Without having complete control of the output. It helps us to reduce our errors. Maybe like using a virtual assistant. If I ask Google, hey Google, what time it is, she'll tell me that it's 10:53 a.m. There's no error about my time, at least maybe according to Big Ben. If y'all know who Big Ben is. If
My
I
Google
ask,
just answered when you did that. That's how much it be listening. Big brother.
absolutely, absolutely. And I'm in a different space, but usually when I say that, right, mine answers, and I love that she, you know, is a part of my presentation because I start asking her questions, you know, like what's the weather outside, right? Or what is the temperature today? I now know without error, do I need to bring a coat or don't I? If I ask her, well, what is on my calendar today? She runs down the things that I placed on my calendar. She's not going to let me forget that I have a lecture at 9:30 or to go shopping at 3. It's helping us in our day-to-day task. Now, the second way that AI is used is to help automate these processes without the need of like human intervention. I want you to think about like robots being used in a warehouse. How many of you have seen like maybe photos or videos of like a manufacturing facility and there's like a robot arm that's there, right? And they are assembling pieces of maybe a car. You might think, how does that happen? How does that happen? Well, there's different ways. We can put sensors on the human And we can see how the human moves. We can look to see how the human puts the lug nut on, or like maybe how many times they need to tighten that lug nut. Maybe, where they're taking the tire and putting the tire on the car, right? At what angle do they need to put the door on the car? So we can see, again, through sensors, which provides us data, how the assembly of a car is done. So now we can create a robot to do these same process steps. That's how we're using robots again in our fulfillment centers. You can think of autonomous cars. I remember some years ago when I first saw like the car will park itself. And I thought, how does that happen? This was some years back. And then I started thinking, and I said, well, it knows my GPS coordinates on the road. It can have a map of my location. It understands where my GPS coordinate is, thinking of my car and my tires and the distance between the curb. It's math. It's graphing. So it understands the angle that it needs to park the car. I was like, yes, duh. It's using sensors. It's using GPS coordinates. It's using maps. This is now how we get to, over some evolution, your autonomous cars. Now, we do know that with autonomous cars, there have been problems on bias, right? Not recognizing certain skin colors. But autonomous cars, they use these this learning type called reinforcement learning. And it uses what's called rewards and penalties. So if the car is moving through and it recognizes the image of a stop sign, so that means that the model, the car, the computer has been trained with images of what a stop sign looks like. It knows the difference between, let's say, a stop sign and a pedestrian sign. It knows the difference between the color of red and the color of yellow. So when it recognizes the stop sign and it stops, it gets rewarded. Let's say it blows through the stop sign. It doesn't recognize it. It gets penalized. So there is this real-time decision that's happening in the autonomous cars. So then that is how AI helps us to automate processes. Surgical assistant robots, absolutely. It's the same thing, right? We've used the human to help us automate the task that we eventually have the computer do. That's excellent. So talk about the role of social science. So there's this importance of social science in understanding human behavior in society. There's a diverse range of disciplines: sociology, anthropology, psychology, economics, political science. And analyzing the institution, our cultures, our societal problems, social change. So looking at those relationships between the individuals, between our communities, between our groups. But let's talk about how we can integrate them into AI and data science. Well, different focus areas of social science: human behavior, societies, and structures. So understanding individuals and the collectives. Really examining historical context, the way our institutions have been built, the dynamics and the hierarchies of our societies. And using all of these different fields to explore the diverse aspect of our society and the behaviors of our society. So in context, right, you're using vigorous methods like surveys and interviews and data analysis to uncover these patterns in human behavior and interactions. Remember I said earlier, right? There is information for policymakers. You're using this information to address these societal issues, but also to support cultural understanding. And oftentimes you're using the scientific method. We're formulating a question, right? We'll start with that problem statement. What's happening in our communities? And then we might even have a hypothesis there. Well, why is this happening? Why is Medicaid not being expanded? Why do we have the issues in our homes? Why is education different in different communities? Why are prescription costs have such a large fluctuation? We formulate a problem, we can generate a hypothesis, and then we go and do the work. We do the experiment, we do the surveys, we do the interviews, we do the data analysis. And then we have to take some action. We work with our communities, we work with our government, we work with our centers to help inform, to help optimize, to help consent. But what I want you to see is that if we cross the 5 steps of the scientific method, that's over here to the right. Formulating the right question, generate the hypothesis, gather the data, communicate the results, and analyze the data or test the hypotheses. If we cross these 5 steps of the scientific method with the 3 data science skill domains, I want you to recall that Venn diagram, having the business knowledge or having domain knowledge, the computer programming, so technology and programming skills. And then also having statistics and the math skills. If we cross these 2, we can see how different data professionals can contribute to a data science project. 1, we need the domain expert to help formulate the questions and generate the hypothesis and communicate the results. Social science. 2, we need people to help us get access to the data. Using data mining, using SPSS, using R, using Python, using Excel, using cloud processing, using big data engineering. And then 3rd, we need researchers to help us generate and gather the data and analyze the data and communicate the results. Your statisticians, your scientists, using machine learning, graphical methods, optimization. There is room underneath the data science umbrella for all. Questions, comments, reflections. Questions, comments, reflections.
I'm thinking about that we just did the class with Dr. Kim on that R studio, and did you tell us we could reach out to you? Or who can we?
This is, you're talking about Dr. Kim or you're talking about myself?
You.
Oh, absolutely. If you need resources on R, and matter of fact, before I finish today, I will give you some resources on R. How about that?
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you.
Excellent. All right. All right, others. Questions, comments, reflections. The social data scientist. So how can data science be applied? Right? These social science questions, they're investigated with modern computational tools. Again, understanding how human societies work or how humans work in society. There has to be this collaboration between data scientists and social scientists that brings the technical expertise and the consideration of human impact. So integrating these perspectives, it results in solutions that are not only robust, but also ethical. Let's talk about some opportunities, but also some challenges at the intersection of this field. All right, so actually let's go back over to the Jamboard. And I'll share my screen over there. And there is a third question. And the third question is, and I'll place the link in the chat again for you, just in case you lost it. Okay. The question I have is, what do you perceive as the biggest challenge or barrier in using data analysis or data science in your social science research or practice? What do you perceive as the biggest challenge or barriers to using data analysis in social science research or practice? Again, you can come over here to the left, and the fourth icon down is a sticky note. I'm hovering over the icon now. You tap on that sticky note. You can then start typing in that sticky note. Make sure you hit save, not enter, because it goes away. All right, so again, type in the sticky note, hit save, and then it will show up on the board. So please, let's take a moment or two and let's talk about the biggest challenges or barriers you see in using data analysis or data science in your social science research or practice. Time. I definitely want to see more contribution to the board, please. Yes, I see them coming in. I'll move them around. Okay, so
Professor
Phillips? Yes, Jessica.
Can you post the link in the chat again? Because I'm on my computer, so I don't have it. Sorry.
No problem. I'll do it again. There you are. All right, so while others are still filling in their boards, Let me hear from you. Let me hear from a few people about your contribution to the board. Let's discuss about what are some of your biggest challenges or barriers.
I put out for mine, just in, trying to do research and like getting into the space. I think a lot of professors like want us to like first, figure it out on our own. And one of my biggest challenges has been like after I like coded data, like what to do with it, or like what I'm supposed to do with frequency tables, or like intercodal agreements, or what that's supposed to look like. And I know what I want the data to say, like to present to other people, because I know what I've been looking for and like it's there. But I don't know how to necessarily communicate that like in the graphs or to show always, I guess.
All right, so there's a couple of things that you said here, right? And so one thing that you talked about was once you have the data and you have your frequency tables. So one of the early steps in our data science process is called exploratory data analysis, right? This is where we're using descriptive statistics to really understand our issue or our question. Right. So you can, one of the ways or one of the things that you can start looking into again is exploratory data analysis. Now, I don't know if you're going as far as maybe creating like a regression model or doing some type of classification, do you assess or don't you assess, right? Do you give them the incentive or don't you give them the incentive? That would be an example of logistic regression. But you move through this process of exploratory data analysis. And then what we get into is selecting our features. And so many of you may have heard, like, if you think about your data and let's say you're putting it into an Excel sheet, right? And you might be calling it data, you might be calling it variables. But when your variables move into the modeling phase, it flips and it now becomes features. And so what we do when things become data driven, let me know how many of you all have heard this term called data driven. Give me a thumbs up, right? Data driven. That's exactly what it means, right? You browsing the raw data and you're going to allow the data to speak. I want you to think that Sherlock Holmes example again. So coming or rather saying, hey, I know what I want it to say. Maybe and maybe not, right? Because ultimately we want to get to what is called, we want to use inductive and deductive reasoning. So we want the expert knowledge, but we also want the data-driven knowledge. Maybe that data is not going to do what you think it's going to do or say. Right. So really bringing those two together. So we go from exploratory data analysis and we use those tools, right? And we do univariate analysis. We do bivariate analysis. We do multivariate analysis. We look at our correlations. Maybe we might have to then do maybe ANOVA testing before we get maybe to regression analysis, right? Because what we will not do is, let's say we have 20 variables and we're now moving into this modeling phase. We're not going to use our expert opinion and just choose 5 of those because we believe that they're going to answer our question. We're going to use algorithms to help us select the best variables. Hopefully that makes sense, right? And so when you talk about, well, what do I do next? I want you to think through exploratory data analysis. And then you're going to think through a phase called selecting your features. So feature selection, that's what we call it. Feature selection, you may hear it being called feature engineering. And then you move into that modeling phase. I'm going to give you some information in the next 15 minutes or so. All right, thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right, is there someone else? Deja, come on in.
So the one that I think that poses a challenge to me when it comes to research data would honestly be implementing the data into the program. I struggled a lot with that, the implementation, and then also conveying it back to my classmates, when it's time to present, I did not understand exactly what it was I was presenting. I was just like going based off of what I saw, but it was just like, it was really hard for me to understand the data that I was presenting. And I was just filling in a lot of blank spaces.
Okay, so let's talk about your challenge. The first one, what application are you using? What tool are you using?
What is it? R?
R? Okay. All right,
Yeah.
so depending on the type of data you have, like where is the data coming from? If it's an Excel sheet, it typically comes in pretty easy, but there's some things that you have to know beforehand. One, you have to know what's a valid versus an invalid name in your spreadsheet. R does not allow spaces between, right? Like in your Excel sheet. So if you have spaces going in, fix them before you go in. The second thing is that you must know your data types. It becomes extremely important to know qualitative versus quantitative, but not just that. What is an ordinal? What is a nominal variable? What then is a discrete, and what is and continuous? Now, the quantitative, it'll handle a little bit better. But a lot of times you might be trying to create a report by a group, and we call those categorical variables, right? It's where we can reduce the number of groups to maybe a more manageable size. So maybe we can do a report by zip code, by race, by gender, by classification, right? And so knowing that piece of information, knowing the structure of your data, one, is going to be helpful in getting the data in. Two, understanding the format of your data. Is it an Excel sheet? Is it a SAS data set? Is it a data set that comes from SPSS? Those are packages, or you can get packages that would help you then import that data a little bit easier there. All right, so that's a couple of things. And then on the back end, remember I said that you have to know your data types, because what becomes important is that certain data types go well with certain visualizations. If you're trying to show categorical data, use a bar chart. If you're trying to show the relationship between two variables, use a scatter plot. So really understanding what you are trying to convey to your audience is important for you to understand what data pieces.
That's the big thing for me, is understanding exactly which chart to use. I think if we spent more time, like that's my big thing in research, focusing on exactly just the data part and not just like going over what the vocabs were, then it would help a lot more, because we're going in and we're focusing on the vocabs, and then we get to this data and it's like we get frustrated because it's like, I don't know what this is. And you're putting it in and you keep getting it wrong. And you're just like, this is confusing. And then at one point you just give up.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to allow you to give up. I'm going to try to find a resource before I leave out. That's what I'm looking for today. And it's an image that I use, or I give out to my, you know what? I have a few things for you. Here's one of them. All right. So while we're talking through this, there's a thing called R Gallery. Bam, there it goes. All right, I'm gonna place this in the chat for you. This is one of my favorite sites in data visualizations. All right, and you can see, and let me tell you what else happens. You can find your chart type. You can click on that chart type to think this is just a simple bar graph or histogram rather. And not only will it tell you how to use it, it gives you code. Oh my gosh, you can't make this up, right? Like you hover over it, you try to find out what is the data type. Okay, I got some things popping up over here. Sorry. And you find out, what kind of graph that you want to use. So there's that, right? Subscribe to the newsletter. I've placed the link in the chat, but it'll talk about different tools. So are you using ggplot2, right? Are you using maybe base R? Base R is a little more difficult than ggplot2. But different packages. Maybe you want to do 3D, that might be a little bit more. Maybe you want to do some interactive plots. Again, here are some packages that will help you through. But this is one of my favorite links for chart types. And then there's another, and again, I'll place that in the chat for you before we leave out. Okay, but hopefully that's helpful to you.
Thank you. That was very helpful.
All right, excellent. All right, perfect. And then, like I said, I'll give you something else, but I want to bring a couple of more people in before, as our time is dwindling down. So again, what are some biggest challenges or barriers? Come on in, talk with us. I think that was Deja. Is there another? Let's go to the board. So, okay, so time, again, overwhelmingness, start with an area of the data science process, exploratory data analysis, because that will help you get comfortable. Now, this is once you get your data in, but really truly understanding the purpose of exploratory data analysis. And with exploratory data analysis, it's a pretty standard set of steps that we use. Right? So going through our univariate analysis, we have to understand what's qualitative and what's quantitative. We have to understand, okay, I want to create frequency charts for my qualitative data. I want to do summary statistics for my quantitative data. I may want to do a histogram. I might want to do a bar chart. I might want to look at a line chart if I'm using date or time. Right, so going through similar steps for univariate analysis and then bivariate analysis, looking at maybe a target that you have and how it relates to some of your other variables. Again, similar steps, looking at scatter plots to use for our numeric variables, looking at cross-tab tables to use for two categorical variables. Really, truly getting into the details of our data, but using those tools to help us analyze the data. So again, in exploratory data analysis, we are typically using similar steps to move through our data analysis there. And you know what, y'all? I'm gonna help y'all even more. I'm gonna give y'all some code. And Dr. Jones, is this okay? Where's Dr. Jones?
Right here.
Dr. Jones, is it okay if I share my basics of exploratory data analysis with the class?
I would love for you to do that. And then if there's anything that you think Dr. King can share with them in reference to because she uses a data set. So however, yes and yes. Yes.
All right, I think it's on here.
And can I just ask if, what do you think their next step should be? Like, they got spring break this week and they're winding stuff down, but like, as they have some free time, do you think there's a course or what should they look at like as like next steps? So like when I hear Deja saying, if I could have focused on this or something, I'm just wondering when they decide to come back and say, you know what, I'm interested in this data science, what do you think they could pick up first?
All right, so one, and I just placed it in the chat, and Dr. Jones knows that this is one of my favorite sites. It's called KD Nuggets. In every single workshop, you will hear me provide this source. If you have not been on KD Nuggets, as soon as you get on KD Nuggets, I'm showing you my screen. There's a pop-up that shows up. Sign up for their newsletter. Sign up for their newsletter. It's going to help you with cheat sheets. Do y'all have cheat sheets? Do y'all have cheat sheets?
No, let's just say no. So
okay. Let's give it all. Let's give it all. Cheat sheets and coding, that is. Cheat sheets and coding. All right. And so let's do it. Let's do it. Because I think this is important. I have some other slides, but this is where I want to go. So sign up for the newsletter. That's my first thing. KD Nuggets is a wealth of information. It is an aggregate site for almost all things data science. You can come over here to the search button. And if you want to know about R or you want to do some natural language processing, I'm going to put NLP for social science. Let's see what comes up. Sometimes it takes a little bit. Did I spell that right? Yeah, I did. Okay, I did. Now, I'm not saying the first thing that comes up is going to be what you're looking for, but Dr. Jones, I heard that you gave a nice tutorial on chat for in different skills there. I heard it was really nice. I like it.
Thank you.
Yes, I heard
A good
about it.
coworker, a colleague, and we did really good with that. We hope we could do some other things with that.
Right, absolutely. So again, natural language processing, and I talked about this earlier, but just being able, to use this scripting, like maybe you're using PubMed. I think that's one of them, or Google Docs. No, Google PubMed. What's the other one? Y'all can help me out. What's the other one? It's PubMed and something else. There's like a second one that a lot of researchers use. Okay, so let's talk about PubMed, right? So you can create an algorithm, and actually a lot of people have already done this, right? You can just honestly just go into Google and say, NLP, that's natural language processing in PubMed. Now, yes, you will have to understand, how to, let's put this in R. There it is. All right. So I've actually read through this one before, and this one was using COVID, but it was showing you how you can dive into medical text using R with this particular package. And they usually go in and have an example. I'm showing my screen, I believe. And what's and why and how you can use natural language processing. I believe that is another topic that would greatly benefit your area of social science, right? Again, it's natural language process. Google Scholar. Thank you so much. Google Scholar was the second one that I was thinking of. And so again, you can go right on in and put an NLP or natural language processing, using PubMed or Google Scholar in R or in Python or whichever. And it typically is going to, run through some examples, and it's going to give you script. But now you do have to understand some of the language here. You have to understand your data structures. So let me give you a couple of tips because I'm a little bit. One, understand exploratory data analysis. That's a critical step in data science projects. Now, if you want to start to dive deeper, two, go into feature selection. Feature selection. Understand what feature selection is. Because what this does is that it helps to eliminate your bias in your project. It will help to eliminate what you think is going to answer the question, because maybe your data is saying something different. Maybe you should include one or two other features for your algorithm than maybe what you would have included. So feature selection, feature engineering, all right? You could think through that. And then if there were some algorithms or some methods rather that I would recommend, regression analysis, absolutely. And then natural language processing. Now, natural language processing is thinking through like text mining. That's more difficult. There's a learning curve here, but it will benefit the work that you do. It will benefit the surveys, the interviews that you work in. Right? Those would be some of my quick recommendations. You can use KD Nuggets again as a source. I'm right over. Y'all see, here's topics. NLP, boom. Machine learning, boom. AI, SQL, boom. It's here for you, right? Again, this is an aggregate of a lot of the things on social media. And that would be helpful. If you want events, maybe you want to go to a conference, right? There's some money, some travel money for you to look through. It's all here for you, right? They bring in events, healthcare, and NLP summits. generative AI. So again, that's another field that is starting to have advantages there in when we layer it with social science. And then the last one are resources. So if you want to have or find out books, materials, using different languages, come right over here to resources. So this is one of the things that I have for you. All right. So another is, I know that you are using R. Well, R has a list of cheat sheets, and we call these cheat sheets. Here we go. I'll place the link in the chat. We call these cheat sheets because what they do is that they help us maneuver some of the packages, right? And it's just like, hey, what are some of the best cheat sheets to help you learn these packages? Now I'm going to give you a site, and you're going to download some of the materials already from my GitHub for you to become familiar. But just right here, this is RStudio. This is just learning the application itself. Like what's every window here, right? So learn your tool. And this is one of the cheat sheets. Give me a thumbs up if you have used these cheat sheets, or if this is new. Well, no, give me a thumbs up if this information is new to you. Give me a thumbs up if this information is new to you. Or you can even put in the chat if there are some cheat sheets that you've used. Maybe what are some of the better cheat sheets? Place it in the chat, so then you are helping your fellow cohort. All right, come on in. I saw somebody raise their hand, or maybe you were just saying that cheat sheets are new to you. Okay, excellent. So there are some pieces of materials there that I wanted to show you. A few things about, solving social issues, right? So some of the important things when we start this intersection of AI, data science, social science is having a data science mindset, being curious about your data, being able to communicate your data story, looking for data-driven results, following a process. The CRISP methodology, CRISP, you can Google that too. The CRISP methodology is probably one of is the gold star, still the gold star for data science projects. CRISP, CRISP -DM methodology. Again, that's so really follow a process when doing your data science projects. And when you really get that process solid, the way that we implement data science projects becomes just a lot easier. All right. Having a quantitative rigor. All right. So you don't have a math degree. Okay. There is low code or no code programming platforms out there that will help you progress through your data analysis. But there are certain things that you do need to know. Your statistics, your descriptive statistics, your inferential statistics, understanding t-test, maybe some A/B testing. What you do not understand today, you can understand tomorrow. But also looking at social patterns, ethical considerations. That is a huge area too. Ethical considerations. I have a slide or two for that. And remember, I talked about effective communication and thinking through, what does policy evaluation look like? Who is in the room and who do you need to connect to? You should not be connecting to everybody in that room when you are communicating your story. I want you to hone in on one or two people that can help you move, inform, or act. You know what their interests are. You know how they can help you get to maybe a policy change or update or just implementation. So thinking through, again, effective communication, thinking through how do you want to evaluate your policies. And then here was one about application areas, right? In anthropology, so using computational analysis for artifacts. In psychology, using modeling for human behavior. You can also layer in psychometrics. Data science with psychometrics. And ooh la la. Sociology, so really understanding and analyzing social networks, graph analysis, social network data, or social network analysis, excuse me. We call it SNA, social network analysis. How are people connected? How are issues connected? You can even use system dynamics to think through community issues and how you can change, how the change will affect your community. So using system dynamics. Right. The last few slides that I have is your data analysis. So being able to analyze your survey data and understand the social trends. So again, thinking through your univariate, your multivariate analysis, use your descriptive statistics and those common forms, right, to do your data analysis. Text analysis, this is where I was getting with natural language processing. Thinking through maybe how to analyze political speeches. Thinking through what sentiment do people on social media have when you're listening to political speeches. The other day, we had the State of the Union. What were people saying on social media? Breaking down those words, right? And then creating your visualizations from there, and then predictive models. That's what I was talking about, like regression analysis, doing classification analysis. Those are some of the basic or techniques or algorithms that will help you to progress this journey. I wanted to show you, though, that there are these careers out in society. I did a quick Google, right? And one of the things was that with Amazon, they was looking for a survey research scientist under people experience and technologies. And what you'll see is that the request is to be proficient in R and Python and Stata, right? Any one of those, but also being able to know your survey design and working with that type of software like Qualtrics. But understanding people, understanding research, understanding methodology. Another one was in psychology at Bethesda Software. Statistical modeling, pairing it again with our social sciences. And there's another area that you can consider is integrating fairness, bias, and transparency. Using AI, using our AI systems in society. That's a whole nother area of where you can use your expertise. What is fair to our communities, to our protected classes? What is transparency from our Silicon Valley companies? What does that look like? How can we assess bias? Right now, IBM has a product out there. It's called Bias in AI 360. I think that's the name of the product. So if you are someone that's working in bias, and again, IBM, you can do a quick Google. IBM has a product. I think, again, it's called like 360 AI bias or AI bias 360, one of those. But thinking through issues of fairness, transparency, privacy, bias, responsibility, a lot of different keywords here. Responsible AI, bias in AI. These are keywords that you can use in LinkedIn, keywords that you can use on social media to bring some articles, some issues, etc., up to your in your searches. Ethical AI, again, all areas. And then thinking through some case studies. Remember social media and elections. I talked about that. Criminal justice algorithms, housing discriminations. So different case studies here. And here are some people that are doing some social science. These are some social science research funders. The Alfred and Sloan Foundation, the Laura and John Arnold Foundation. I know that they support initiatives to address social and economic challenges. The John Templeton Foundation. This foundation explores questions at the intersection of like science, religion, spirituality. DARPA, which is the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency. They look at national security challenges and technological innovations, etc. The Knight Foundation, they support engaging your community research opportunities, machine learning. So again, these are some research funders for you. Make sure you take a look. All right, I talked to Ben about transparency, etc. And so that's it, right? A lot of different questions. I hope that you still have reflections, etc. I will stay on afterwards if you have some other questions, for me. But I hope this has been informative for you. I hope this, starts your data journey. And I'm excited just to see what you all have, forthcoming. As Dr. King talks through her research, I will place some other things in the chat for you. And again, I'll stay after for a few minutes if you have some questions, or you might need to know how to get those resources down. Okay. So I'm going to turn it back over to, where did Miss Shamika go? Oh, no, there's Dr. King.
Well, hello, everyone. Let me just say, I think I stayed the entire time. This is my first time. Thank you, Professor Phillips. Ms. Phillips has given some great information about how to incorporate data science into social work and the field of counseling. I'm just going to say kudos to her because she talked about us coming a long way. Ms. Phillips, you've come a long way with integrating social science because I could tell you this presentation, wow, had we had this the first time we had you, we would be like Dr. Jones. Am I right? When I tell you this
suffer from an illness
information,
called realness.
you know what? So I think we have learned together because it has been a journey. We started this in 2018 when the initiative came to Clark Atlanta. And I believe Dr. Jones started around that time too, taking a class with online, and it was just foreign, like not Spanish, because Spanish I picked up really easy. This is more like Mandarin. And it's just wah, 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 wah. And by the time we got to Professor Phillips, it got a little better. But it just didn't make sense for me at the time because I couldn't apply it to what I was doing in social work. And so thank you, kudos to you, Professor Phillips, for integrating and including us. We are at the table, I could tell you now, about how we can use this in social work and counseling. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm just going to say this because she did such a fabulous job. I have probably rearranged my presentation because I don't want to waste any valuable time that we have left going over what I would have done originally. So I'm going to start with the end in mind. If you're interested in learning more, reach out to me. There's a Blink QR code that you can scroll on real quick. And I want to talk about the AUC Data Science Initiative because that's where we have learned a great deal of our data science and how we integrate it into our courses and into our research and practical experiences in the field. The AUC Data Science Initiative is for faculty and students. I encourage you right now, if we will, Dr. Jones, put that in the chat. I can do that when I get through as well, or even Professor Phillips. We're all affiliates of that. We have projects with them, but more importantly, if you are interested in doing some type of research, there are stipends available for you to do your research. Going to conferences, there are stipends and travel reimbursements for you to use to do your research in data science. And I could tell you, without even getting to this slide, all of you on this call can do data science. If I can do it, I'm telling you, you can too, if you haven't already been doing it. So what I would like to cover in our time, y'all keep me on target. I think I got about 15 minutes left. Is what is data science? Professor Phillips did that very well, so we'll probably skip over that. Where is the data? I'll give you an example of how I use it in child welfare, and then I want to have a discussion about how you can use it in your role at your job and where to get started from. So just in a general sense, data science really is a field that encompasses a lot of different skill sets. You already have all of these. Basically, because you're in a degree program, you're required to do research. Traditional research is what we have normally done. I think Professor Phillips talked about the scientific method. My children in high school and in elementary school, if you remember, we did that starting in like grade 3. So data science is not new. It just incorporates a lot of avenues to get to the final report and dissemination and practical application. And that's what we'll talk about. How do you bring all of this different skill sets that you've learned or have in your arsenal? How do you bring it all together in one project? So if you take a moment real quick, where's the data? I hope this link works. If it don't, we'll keep moving. Can someone let me know that it works or not?
It works.
Okay, great. So this first one really is just about creating a word cloud based off of what you all come up with. We can do about 1 minute. Are you all joining? All right, Nelson, I see you have already did. Thank you. I'll send that to you right now.
I'm gonna send you some Chick-fil-A, Nelson. You own it today.
All right. That's about a minute. We'll give you the results of that in just a minute. So I wanted to do that word cloud before I shared mine. We did this maybe about 2 years ago in one of my courses about where is R in social work. And so as you can see, this is one that really encompasses things that I did in my career as a social worker that really started out as a case manager. My undergraduate degree is in psychology, and I had some different roles. I was a case manager for the Department of Family and Children's Services. I was a scientific um, um, what did I used to do with Department of Juvenile Justice? Not scientific, but psychometric specialist. There we go. It's been a while. And in that role, I administered, some brief psychological testing. I was a counselor in the men's prisons at Rivers State Prison. And then in some way up my chain, I ended up doing supervision at Department of Family and Children's Services, doing program and planning and developing policies for the state of Georgia foster care system. So all of that, when I put it on paper, I noticed that R is in every last one of those words that we came up with. So how ironic is that R is in everything that I've been doing in social sciences since I graduated. And I'll tell you, that was back way before a lot of you all probably even entered your undergraduate program. So R is everywhere, and we do everything that is needed to do R. One of those things that you would think about in social work, how do we use data science? We can use it in our micro practice by doing mapping community needs. We do that on a regular basis. And then also in the field when we're doing resource allocations. All of that is dealt with by using data. Now, before now, I will tell you in my role at the state office, we use a lot of data and we use research, right? But we never called it data science. The thing that I want you all to say is we've been doing this work, even though we didn't think we were doing it. We have a new name for it now in the field of social work. It's called data science, but I just want you to know we've been doing it all along. But we have some new skills that we're going to apply to it as we do this work. And the one that I've gravitated to is the one that I'll talk about the most. Is because it was the easiest for me to learn, which is R. And I'll talk about that briefly. So in my role, as I told you over the years, I've been doing social work for over 25 plus years now. My expertise is in child welfare, but I've done a couple of jobs and we all pretty much do the same things, right? And so when I came to academia, it was pretty straightforward about where I would do my research. That was still typically done using SPSS. And so, like I said, about to 2018, when this was brought to Clark Atlanta about, hey, we need to do data science, the question was like, how do we do it in social work? And at that moment, I immediately knew what data I could use because I wrote policies for the state of Georgia. And that was the child welfare system data sets. And so when I started learning about using that, I put it in my courses. So I teach our students how to use child welfare data in the class, and they're doing their research as well. So what does that look like? Can an undergraduate student do data science? Absolutely. And I'm going to just share with you real quickly how we use that in the class as well as in their research projects. So 3 examples that we looked at, and I think this was in 2019, they looked at children with disabilities. Of course, we have a data set, and I'll talk about that in a minute, that we use on a regular basis that requires, some extra access to because it is restrictive data. We use live data for the state of Georgia, but we have access to all states foster care system. So I allow the students to pick what their interest is within this data set. The next one then, some of the students worked on mental health status and the time that children are in care. And then others is just the time a child experiences a foster care placement. Again, I know I'm short on time. These are the outcomes of their projects. This was the first time I believe my students were able to do a complete project and submit it to a research symposium. I will say their projects then were submitted to our undergraduate program BPD conference, which was the first time any of our students have not only submitted, but got accepted. So doing these data science projects are very rewarding at the end because it boosted their confidence. So the data set that we use in the class and as well as my my research comes from ACF, the Children's Bureau. And typically you can Google it right now. These reports come out annually about child maltreatment. And it really just talks about the incidents of child welfare reports, investigations, screen in, screen out, that kind of thing, just the numbers. But that same data set, you can use it to do your own research. If you know, like Professor Phillips said, the domain knowledge surrounding that. For example, that you see here, I used that data set to talk about racial disproportionality. And the question is, what is the difference among African-American children in foster care and their counterparts? This research really was my first exploration into using the data set, but there are so many other opportunities to come up with what you can look into. There are 105 variables, if you will, within this data set. And there's just so many different varieties that you can use. For this particular one, we use specific things like we identified the child demographics. You would have to know what that would look like. You do have to know what these codes are. The AFCARS code book is available. You can Google that online as well. But how do we do it specifically for Georgia? Then you would take those states codes and use those. The different types of removal reasons, you can look at, there are other things that you can relate to demographics, like relating to the amount of money that is paid to foster care for foster parents, the type of placements that these children are in. One of the things that we talked about in Georgia is the need for them to be on a consent decree. And what does that mean? That means that they don't get their policies and procedures right as it relates to children in foster care. And so for the last 20 plus years, they are under a federal mandate because for some reason the work is not, in the best interest of the children. So we looked at a time period between 2008, which is when the Kenny A consent decree was implemented, until 2019, to see if there was a change based off of these requirements for the state of Georgia. And what we found was that children in foster care, African American children, are overly represented in foster care when there is a consent decree. So policy wise, when you're looking at these implications for child welfare research using the data set, how does this relate to everyday work? policies would need to be changed for how children are removed from the home, placement of the children with relatives versus removing children and placing them into foster care. We know that the impact of children who are placed in the foster care, African American children, have a longer length of stay, and we know that by the data. We did a longitudinal look at this data set because we had it and it's available to see what those trends are. What was fascinating to pick out, and I presented this at a couple of conferences, that the data shows the change in children in foster care that are African Americans go up and go down according to the governor's initiative related to foster care. So in the beginning, in 2008, all the way to around 2012, you can see a real decline in the children who are African Americans in foster care. That was because we had a governor who was very supportive of a commissioner who thought that children should be placed with their family more than placed in foster care. When that commissioner left, we received a new governor, and under their governorship, decided that children shouldn't be placed in the homes of their relatives. And you can see a drastic increase in children in foster care. The data shows that. The Data Science Project shows that that decision, that political decision, affected African American children more by their mandate to put children in foster care rather than putting them in home. So that being said, that was a quick example. I know I'm at time. If you can take a picture of this, how can I use data science? It's a quick little survey as well. We can certainly share this information with you. This one is really designed for you to get to thinking about how you can use it in your current courses as well as in your job. I know that some of you all are here already working. I heard Nelson talk about already knowing some data sets that he has available. You all are welcome to share that information in that survey. It's on Qualtrics, so it'll be open. I'll leave it open and I'll share that with Dr. Jones so she can share you all the results of what you all come up with. Professor Phillips has already talked about tools and techniques. I can tell you, based off of my experience, R was easiest for me and my students to learn because it has library and packages centered more on social sciences. And you just have to know what those are, because Professor Phillips can tell you that there are over, I think the number is 4,000 packages available or more, I think at the time now. But there are a wealth of resources available online for free that you can do to help you learn. I invite you to, do those on a regular basis. Some of the easiest ones that I've recognized is called Cognitive Class. And Cognitive Class allows you to take these courses and get a certificate in data science. So I offer these 4 certificates in my courses with my students, and it is very helpful to at least get them the introduction to what data science is. Those are the links. And that's it for me. I wanted to give you a demonstration of how we use it actually in the class. We use a portal. I don't know if you all have time to look at what that is at this moment. If you stay on, I could show that to you. If you leave, that's fine too. Just let me know and I could give you a quick demonstration. But That's all I have, Dr. Jones.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do you all have any questions? Do you have any questions for Dr. King or for Professor Phillips in reference to these amazing presentations where Dr. King is sharing with you how she's used it in child welfare? We're already doing so. And Professor Phillips, come on in, Jessica.
Dr. King, how did you do that AI face and everything on Zoom? Is that like a special feature?
No, it is. That is so
Do
funny.
coding, like how
No,
is the
ma'am. It is a click and point. And it's under your I do digital trainings too, digital tools training, but this is a Zoom feature. You have it right now at your fingertips. If you go to your video, there's a up arrow, down arrow, click on that, choose the avatar, and you can, create it.
Thank you. I will definitely look out for
Dr.
that.
Jones has one. I don't know why hers is not on right now.
You're so cute. I'm showing my face because I'm asking you to show their face, but you definitely can use it. Happy to share.
No, it does take time to figure it out.
I'm sorry. Someone asked about the PowerPoints. We can definitely ask for Professor Phillips and Dr. King to share those as well.
Yes. And so, hey, Dr. Jones, it's Yvonne.
Mhm.
In the chat, I've placed a GitHub in the chat, and let me know how many of you all see it. It is resources for your learning. So there is, I'm looking for it now. Oh, here it goes. To download, all you have to do is once you hit the GitHub, I'll place it in the chat again. Hit the GitHub, and then you'll see the green code button. Make sure you tap on that green code button. Go to download zip. It's going to download on your machine. You're going to then open up that file folder and then extract the materials on your machine. There's a few different documents on there, but you will see one that says CAU.pdf. That is the presentation from today. There is also a markdown that I gave you. It's EDA, it's for diabetes. You might need the data set. So give me a quick second. I'll put the diabetes in. So that is a full tutorial on exploratory data analysis. Right, and let me make sure that I place the data set into the GitHub. So if you give me like a minute, you can tap on, and Dr. Jones, you'll be able to have this link. I'll leave it open for a little bit.
Okay.
It'll give you a lot of different materials there.
Are you able to get that link, Ms. Campbell, and maybe we could upload it to our Canvas page, or I can share it with you?
It won't. Okay, I'll keep it open for maybe a week or so.
They have reflection papers that they do for up to the day before, like April 13th is our next session. So
Okay.
maybe ask for it to be open until like maybe April 12th.
Okay.
And then we can close it at that point. But then they can we can upload it to our Canvas page, and they can do, as well as anything that Dr. King has shared. We have a Canvas page. So if you have your slides, or like you were mentioning, a demonstration, if you have a recording or anything like that, we can definitely upload those to the Canvas page, and the students can kind of reference it, because like sometimes they have to leave and do different things, but the information is still valuable and they can still get it. I think it's great. I think you got the juices flowing. Anybody else had any other final questions? Ms. Campbell has uploaded, or you see the screen where she has the scan me so you can do your reflection today, your quantitative portion. Dr. Giddens requested in the chat that if you haven't uploaded your reflection for Dr. Burden, that's our gentleman we had that spoke last time about the counseling for the people that were incarcerated. She's asking if you upload those by Monday. You got any thoughts, Ms. Campbell? Any comments, Dr. Giddens?
No, that's it. You should be able to access that. I know it was some issues at first in Canvas, but you should be able to upload your reflections in there. And I also put the survey link for our interprofessional learning community session. I put that in the chat as well. So you can scan and go get to it, or you can go in the chat and click that link.
That's real cute, Ms.
Go
Campbell.
ahead and do it before you get off so you don't forget about it.
Yes, please. I like that QR code. That's cute. And then before you go, you guys are really creative. And one of the things that we really do, she sent out, Miss Campbell, she sent out the save the date. We're really excited about our upcoming piece in May, but we also would love for us to have some like scholar speaks. So if you want to do like some little PSAs, like public service announcements, sharing what you're doing within your practicums, we would love to showcase those. So like if you are comfortable making like a 1 to 3 minute video, just somewhere aligning some of that information, as well as Dr. Giddens and I are trying to see about if you all are interested in doing publications. You can do publications either jointly or you can do publications individually. But those are some things that we definitely want to offer you, those opportunities that you can definitely reach out to either Dr. Giddens or myself, and or reach out to Ms. Campbell and she'll send you in the right direction for that. But we appreciate you sticking with us today and learning about this data science information. And I know for myself, I think I can agree with everybody else that we want you to have a wonderful spring break. And yeah, that's about it. Look at Dr. King. I should have put on a blazer. Yeah, to you. But you all are free to go, or you can stay on if you have any questions or concerns for us. As always, we're rooting for you. So take care, be well. Thank you. And then you're gonna be all cool.